The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 203.
203.
What's our topic today?
This is using the universe to your advantage.
I like this one.
Me too.
Yeah.
This was your idea.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, it was.
Cool. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, before we get into it, anything you want to talk about from last week?
Sure. Last week we did your spirit team, and Sunshine had posted this in the reading group or in the Philosophy Chatter group. She said, "Last week I finally caught the radio show on time to listen live," meaning my show, the other one.
Yep.
"I tell myself every week I'm going to catch it, and then the ADHD sweeps my perception of time out the window, and I've missed it." You have no idea how much I understand that.
Yep.
Absolutely. But I discovered afterwards all the pre-recorded episodes I've missed, so the last week and a half I've been binge listening at work. Your podcast and radio show really make for great days at work. I find myself feeling more positive and with better energy. I just appreciate you guys and all that you do. It's really wonderful. Also, not sure if I've said this before, but you always apologize when we can hear the dog snoring in the background, but it's actually one of my favorite parts to hear. Like little Easter eggs in the show.
Easter eggs.
Thank you, Sunshine. That's
cool,
that's
Sunshine.
very
Thanks.
sweet. And yes, if you guys didn't know, you can listen to all of the past episodes of my radio show just as well as this show.
Yeah.
Find them all on Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to this podcast. You can find that one as well.
Check it out.
Yeah.
They're cool.
Yep, and we're glad that, hopefully you guys don't mind all the noise, because sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't with the dogs, but,
They're not little Easter eggs by any means.
No,
but
they're definitely not, and you never know when...
sometimes rotten eggs.
Yeah, Betty likes to tell us to shut up. She doesn't like noise, so all of a sudden she's just like, "I've had enough of you guys," and starts whining about that we're talking too much, so... Yeah.
They want to be here with us.
They do.
Can't deny it. So.
They do. Okay, so then let's see. We answer 2 questions every week. Let me get to the questions here. Oh, I have them here. They're both from Laura this week. The first one is, I have recently had issues with my mother-in-law, mainly because I won't allow myself to be manipulated and am standing up for myself, so I manifested cutting the cord with her. Since then, she has become even more toxic and harder to deal with. I haven't retaliated and feel really hurt. Is this the universe's way of getting her out of my life, or is it telling me there is a lesson here that I must learn first? So cord cutting, we did an episode on that a little while back. Mm-hmm. That's not going to make everything go away. That's not going to make the other person stop their nonsense. All it's going to do is help for you to mentally cut that cord.
Like separate.
Exactly.
From it.
But it doesn't mean that it lasts forever. It could last an hour. It could last a day. It can last forever. It just depends on your frame of mind. But reading that, what I was feeling is that this is a lesson in how you're going to handle her. How are you going to handle her? One of the things that I've learned on this spiritual journey is that when somebody treats me like that, I look at their damage. I stopped looking at what was wrong with me when somebody would treat me like that, and I started looking at what could possibly cause them to treat another person this way. And there's usually an underlying cause. And once you understand that they have their own damage and that the way that they're treating you is not a direct reflection of you, it's a reflection of them, then I think that you kind of start to heal and move past this stuff. So I think that the universe is looking partially for that. How are you going to respond internally? And you can respond to her a certain way, but how are you going to respond internally to the feelings that you have?
Yeah.
Because that's very important,
Yeah, because that can eat you up.
It can, absolutely.
And the other person may not even know that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's very much the universe wants to see us be good to other people, but it also wants us to be good to ourselves. And we have to learn. And so, yeah, I would just say with her to keep doing what you're doing and try and find the lesson in all of this. And deal and how you're supposed to deal with her, because all of us have different issues that we have to deal with. So, I can't tell you exactly what to do, but that would be my suggestion. So
Cool.
And then the next one that Laura asked is, when we manifest, is it our intuition telling us what is next up in our lives and not just free will? Will I manifest something? When I manifest something, I get a sense that it's what's supposed to happen, and so I should ask for it. I hope this makes sense.
Right. Jeez. I kind of wonder, like what she was saying there made me think of this, is like, can you really manifest something bad? Why would you want to, first of all? Why would you want to manifest something bad in your life?
Right.
Can you really do that? I don't know. I definitely know you can manifest something good in your life. What turns out to be bad, and this is kind of what we're going to talk about somewhat today, is when my free will interrupts the plan, and then the outcome is some messed up resolution or situation now that exists because I interrupted.
Right. Yeah. Well, one thing I think that we have to look at, besides the fact that, a lot of this is based on our soul contracts, is I still believe that it's still a choose your own adventure. Mm-hmm. Like, if you want to go one direction, you can, and you can go another direction, and the universe will work with you. So you can manifest things, but there's also the law of attraction. So you have to use that to your advantage. And when you were talking about, manifesting negative, if you're negative and you're always putting negative out there, then you can bring negative to yourself. It's not manifesting it. It's just the law of attraction.
Right.
You also can't manifest what's not for you. So you can sit there and try, but it's not going to happen. Right. So I do have a lot of questions myself about manifestation and how it works, because a lot of times what I hear and read is that you're supposed to put your intention out and then let it go, and that's it, right? So, but then I feel like I try and bring it to myself more. I try and think, this is how it's going to be and all that, but that's not letting it go. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what works and what doesn't work. And so what I've just found is I just put it out there, what I want. The universe already knows what I want. It does. It knows more than I know what I want. Right. But if I put it out there, and then the universe knows that I know that I want that and that I want to do that now or whatever. Right. And then they can work with me on that and all of us on that. So it's really just a process. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hope that answers your question, Laura.
Thanks,
Thank you for those questions. And Laura had sent those and then apologized for all the questions. And I thought, you know what? Please don't apologize for sending me your questions, because if I can, I will use them on the show. And if not, I always like to help people. I do my best. Sure. I can't always get back to people right away, but if I can, I will definitely answer your question, or we'll do it here on the show.
Yeah.
And then we have a puppy reading today. This is for Diana. She says, "Hi, Samantha. This is Bogey. You have helped so much when he first came home, but did tell me since he was a puppy he might need a reminder. He pees in his bed at night. I don't get it. He has been crate trained since before we got to even pick him up from the breeder's home. I have tried nice beds, okay beds, to now blankets. I am at the point I was going to look into the male doggy diapers. I just want to know why he is doing this. He is the most amazing guy and doesn't have any potty-related accidents any other time of the day, just some nights." Okay, so let's look at Bogey.
Oh, cute. Bulldog?
I believe, yes. Yeah. Yes, I believe he's a bulldog. Yeah, he is very cute. Okay. So this isn't a behavioral thing for the most part. There are a couple of things going on here, but the first thing that I'm feeling is he's not emptying his bladder completely. And this is really common with male dogs, is that they go out and they put a little here and a little there. But like even with Sabbath, like he just goes out and he pees right on top of the other dogs just a little bit and then comes back in, and I'm like, are you serious? That's all you got? No, there's more in there, but he can hold it because he's an older dog. A puppy can't. So one of the big tips that I would give you is make sure that he stays out and he pees and he does his business before you put him in his crate. The other thing is that he doesn't like to sleep in the crate at night. So the nights that it's not because of that, it's because he wants out of there. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. Let me go back to him real quick. Excuse me. Okay. So he is telling me that sometimes this gets him attention. That the beds, wetting the beds gives him attention. Okay, so he's telling me that sometimes he gets attention for this. Sometimes when he pees in there, he gets negative reinforcement, which to dogs is still a form of positive reinforcement. So he thinks he's going to get attention this way. This is secondary, though. The main thing that is going on is he is just not emptying his bladder. And this is in part to hormones. As you know, he's not a little puppy anymore. He should be able to hold it through the night. But their hormones kick in, and then they really start this spreading of the pee everywhere. So if you're going to have him neutered, that will help as well for this to stop. But I would just say you need to focus extra special hard on making sure that he pees everything out before he goes to bed, which is hard. It might take some time, and it can be frustrating because you might want to go to bed. It might be cold or whatever, and you don't want to stand out there for 5 hours, but that's really it.
But once you get him to do it, like you said, we do last call.
Yes.
At the end of the night, and it's a specific term or word you use.
Yes.
That lets them know this is it.
Yeah, we can be outside, sitting outside, and come in for just a couple of minutes, and I'll still do last call because I don't know that they went while we were outside. And I make them all go outside and go because,
And, this is a great age, too, because he's still young, for you to work on talking to him yourself. So, like, you go out there with him, and you take him outside, and you're showing him in your mind, you're envisioning him, what he looks like when he's squatting and going pee.
Yeah.
Or however he looks when he's going pee.
Yeah.
You're showing him that image by just standing there and envisioning it and talking to him. You can do that verbally, like go potty, but at the same time, use that.
Yeah.
Because they're really young and open more so to it at this age than they are when they get older.
Absolutely.
So once you kind of get that routine, then he knows every night when you say that, okay, last call or potty or whatever.
Yep.
That is what he's got to do to make it through the night.
Yep. And it might take him a little while to learn that. But yeah, just every single night you have to do it, even if you don't feel like it.
They hear you, yeah.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
they definitely hear you.
Yep. So hope that helps, Diana.
Thanks, Diana.
Yeah, what a cute little puppy. He's adorable.
He is.
Bogey, yep. Okay, and then let's give our info before we go into the episode.
Okay.
So you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. I have a radio show every Wednesday on VoiceAmerica.com on the Empowerment Channel called Beyond the Bridge with Samantha Jones. It's a lot of fun, so check it out if you haven't already.
Yay.
And for you, sir?
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I did mention this before, but I did start a Instagram photography page because I like to take pictures.
Yes.
So you can check that out at djones71 photography on Instagram.
Very
And
good.
that's it for
good
me.
stuff.
Thank you.
Check it out.
All right, then.
Okay.
Episode 203, Using the Universe to Your Advantage.
I do love this topic because I think it's a good way to learn how to use some of these things that we see from the universe. Like I got a lot of good tips here about how to do that. So
yes.
But first, let's talk a little bit about this. So life never really goes the way that we want it to go, does it? It just has a mind of its own. Trying to control life can make our thoughts and beliefs spiral into stress, fear, and frustration, and often gets us away from our course that we're intended to be on.
Right.
You suffer sleepless nights and find unhealthy habits to cope, but you still find yourself in that pit of anxiety. Trusting the process of life may seem hard sometimes, but the universe always has its plan, and no one can really understand beforehand.
Yeah.
Really, so many things, everything in my life looking back didn't make sense at the time, but in retrospect, it fits together like a neat little puzzle. It makes perfect sense. You just have to allow the universe to do what it needs to do.
Yes.
Also, accepting the present and letting go of the past are two secrets of doing this, of transforming your life. But it never happens without trust. Life becomes magical when you really learn to trust the universe and to use what it's showing you to your advantage.
And kind of going back to the earlier question at the beginning of about this manifesting and, where is the free will and where is the universe intention for us? Where is that fine line, or where does one begin and the other end,
Yes.
And when I was kind of talking about, like, I really don't have a desire to manifest something bad for myself. Like, I obviously wouldn't want to manifest being in a car accident or becoming homeless and living under a bridge. But I guess I could, if I can manifest good, then I could probably do that for myself. I get what you were saying earlier, too, about the energy you put out is what you're going to get back, for sure. That is definitely, and that kind of goes along with, I think, that karmic wheel that we're kind of all on, and what are we putting out and what are we getting back. But in regards to manifesting for myself or us or somebody else something good, there is a fine line of wanting to get in your own way.
Yeah.
Even where you're innocently thinking you're helping the universe with this plan.
Yes.
that you come up with.
Yes.
And often it's not. No. I think a lot of the free will part of it for me is reactionary.
Yes, for sure.
So giving myself maybe time to stop, listen closely, or watch closely for a definitive kind of direction or answer to the situation.
Right.
Not reacting quickly. That has to be my first, where I kind of find the line.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's not so definitive that I can say, oh, there it is. But if I can stop that process, then I can sort of see that line better.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, too, not reacting with anger is another thing, too, is that if you face a situation where you don't know how to handle it, whether you don't know which way is free will and which way is the universe trying to tell you this is the right way, it's okay to take some time to slow down and figure things out. And really, I found I don't really I try not to react out of anger anymore. I try to clear my head before I react to anything. And that helps with so many things in life,
Right.
Not jumping to conclusions, not freaking out about things, allowing the universe to speak to you. Mm-hmm. But you have to be calm for the universe to speak to you. So if you're if something is emotional and it's getting to you, then sometimes you just have to wait. And you have to wait before you can hear those messages. Because if your mind is clouded, then you can't hear them.
Yeah.
So I asked our listeners, do you feel like when facing tough decisions, you go more with what you feel the universe wants, or do you go free will? And nobody said free will. 28% said the universe, 5% said that they weren't sure, and 67% said that it depends on the situation. Mandy said, I go with the universe when it aligns with what I want. There are plenty of times I felt the universe tugging me, and I do the opposite because I don't want that outcome. The outcome I'm avoiding often happens anyways. That's the thing, is that you can't choose what the outcome is going to be.
Right. So kind of what Mandy was saying, which I understand. However, sometimes the perception of the way that it's going or the path that it's going doesn't seem to be what it is that I want.
Exactly.
However, that's part of that faith in the process of where is this path leading? Why are we going this way?
Yes. Sometimes you might be put on a path that seems absolutely wrong for you, that it seems like, why am I doing this? This makes no sense. But it's because it's going to lead to something else later. So sidetracking what the universe is trying to do with your own free will it's not going to get you to where you want to go. You have to learn to really surrender to the universe and listen to it. Listen to what it's trying to tell you is the big picture here. In a weird way, I think the universe kind of likes to see us uncomfortable. Definitely not in an ego-based way,
No.
but in a way that's when we learn. When we step outside of our comfort zone and allow things to happen, or go beyond what we might normally go beyond when we're listening to our intuition and listening to the universe, it likes to see you do things like that. Mm-hmm. It likes to see you do things that you might be internally afraid to do or whatever.
Right.
It shows that you've learned and you're growing, and the universe loves all of that.
We have to be taken out of our comfort zone to actually learn. We really do. I mean, to learn a majority of things, I think. If it was always peaceful and easy, that means you kind of got it mastered.
Yes, exactly.
Or you got it pretty well down.
Exactly. I think that most people don't look at it that way. Most people look at that this life is supposed to be easy, but nobody ever said that.
No.
And nobody has ever had it easy. Even the people that you might think have it easy, like maybe somebody that has a lot of money and it looks like they have a happy marriage and, have everything they could possibly want. You don't know that person's life. You don't know what they've been through and what they might be suffering on the inside. So it's hard to judge all of that.
Yeah.
It really is. We have to go internally for these things.
And some of these situations that come up in our life where we're faced with the free will or following, and taking advantage of the universe's help, that some of these situations can be very intense, almost like emergency. This has to be done now.
Yes.
And again, according to whose timeline?
Right.
Is that yours?
Right.
Or what they see fit to fit into your life better?
Absolutely.
I think for me, a big one in that area was my divorce, and particularly the custody of Marina. That it became to feel like hasty, like this has to happen or transpire now.
Right, sure.
Like there was the need to want to be right. The need to, I guess maybe even win, when you realize nobody's winning in this situation.
Right.
Nobody is. There's nothing but heartache and separation and sadness,
right.
For probably most importantly, the child.
Yeah.
But the protection of the child was more of my concern, the well-being of her. And so I wanted to get in my own way.
Yeah.
To try to make things speed up or, take it somewhere that it didn't need to go then or at all, if that was the case. But in the end, even though it didn't happen in my time frame, because there was a few times where I had said to you, like, I'm ready to go file.
Right.
But early on, Marina was like, I want to make that choice. And I honored that.
Yeah.
I respected that. Because I didn't want to lose my child for forcing her to do something she wasn't ready to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And so when it came time at about probably 14, when she finally said, okay, I'm ready for that change.
Yeah.
I had already said to you multiple times prior, like, I want to go down and file. And, every time you were like...
This is a great example.
Connecting to not just your mom, but Marina's grandmother who was passed away. And telling me, no.
Yeah, it's not time.
I know it's hard to watch this happen, but there were things that needed to be proven in the situation. And Marina needed to come to her own conclusion about what is going on and what type of relationship this is for her, and is this something she really wants and needs.
Yes.
And I listened. As hard as that was, was a big test in my life to not only stick around and be here for my daughter, but to bite the bullet and let her sort of choose for the time being within reason, where she wanted it to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that whole situation was very difficult because we really did listen to the universe on it. But of course you doubt yourselves. Me as a medium, I get messages, of course, for my own life, for our lives. And a lot of times it's hard for me to go, okay, that's right. It's correct. That's the way it's supposed to be, because
Right.
I doubt myself sometimes, which I shouldn't, because it's always very accurate, the information that's given.
Right.
And yeah, one of the things was, you'll know when it's the right time to file for
And that,
full
okay,
custody.
that's perfectly the point I was going to go to next was like, so yes, they tell you that. They make you feel that you will know. And then you start to get in, where your free will wants to creep in again and go, well, how exactly will I know? Are you sure I won't miss it?
Yeah.
How? Well, in this situation, it was literally impossible
Yeah.
for me to miss this
Yeah.
because it was like getting a phone call from my child's therapist basically saying it's time.
Yeah.
Like the mom
Yeah.
is not only really working hard on the child, but also threatening my credential,
Right.
my
Yeah.
career. And it's time.
And Marina said she was ready.
And
which
Marina
was a
walked
big-
out
yeah.
of that very next,
Yeah.
even like, the very next one, it was like, I need to do something.
Yeah.
And
that's what we were told, was she needs to be the one to come to the decision that it's time,
Right.
and that we shouldn't push that. And that was very hard because it took us like a year and a half to get to that point. I want
Yeah.
to say it took a while, but it all
Yeah.
worked out the way it was supposed to. And it all makes sense after.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense at the time, but it made sense after. And that is really, like, honestly, we're in one of those moments right now. We're in one of those moments where we know something's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Not only have I said it, but I've talked to other psychics that are like, something big is coming for you guys. And in my head, I sit here and I'm like, how? When? But it's not happening yet, and it's making me crazy,
Right.
And you can do this and sit here, and I have to stop myself and say the universe has
Right.
control over this. I'm not pushing things in a direction they're not supposed to go.
No.
I'm just going to sit back and allow the universe to take things where it's supposed to, and it's hard.
Right.
It's really hard. It's testing me.
and
big
trusting that
time.
when there is a fork in the road or a change of the path or a turn, that you will be notified.
Yes.
They will tell you.
Divorce is a very good example. My divorce was much different from yours, but in my divorce, I only saw two possible outcomes. And those outcomes, neither of those was what I was supposed to pick.
Right.
I was supposed to pick to move on with my life for myself, by myself, be single for a while, and learn about myself. But I didn't see that as an option when I first got separated.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't make sense to me. Once I noticed that the universe was not giving me what I wanted and my life was not moving in the forward direction, I reevaluated and went, there's a third option here.
Mm-hmm.
The third option is scary because it means you have to support yourself.
Yeah.
And my brother was living with me too, and he wasn't working, so I was supporting him. And my only job at the time was my grandmother, and if she died, I lost my income. And so I was really, really scared. But I had to take the dive. I had to say, it's time. It's time for me to be by myself and learn about myself. And if that means that it's me and my dog and my brother living in our cars, then so be it.
Yeah.
And I took the leap, and look where I am today.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't a smooth road at all. There's been a lot of learning lessons, and I know that it's not going to be smooth in certain areas of my life going forward. This one, I feel like I've found where I need to be now in my marriage and in my relationship. So in this area, I'm confident, but I know that there's other areas that I'm always going to struggle in. And we're always going to, and even in relationships, they're up and down and all over the place. And you have good times and bad times, but it really is about listening to the universe. The universe tried to push me out of my marriage for years, and I did not listen because I was scared.
Right.
And then it really took drastic measures and forced me out. And that was finally when things changed, because I didn't want to listen because I was scared.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it's normal. You know, I talk to clients that are thinking about going through with a divorce, and I didn't have kids. They have kids, and it's messy and all this stuff. And I hate, you know, giving them the advice to do certain things. But when the universe tells me this is the path that they're supposed to take, I have to listen and tell them.
Yeah, like a house and a car and things is one thing. But a kid is a whole. It literally for me was like feeling like losing an appendage.
Yeah.
Half the week where I didn't have her and I just was worried. And I know I said to you, you know, if I could have it my way, she'd live here.
Yeah. Full
time, 100%, where I knew she was safe and cared for and her well-being was good.
Yeah.
You know, not that, you know, it was 24/7 not okay over at others, but, you know, that I think it just had a lot of impact on her.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but that's eventually what happened.
Yeah.
But I didn't get in the way like I wanted to.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that was it. I felt like I could finally like exhale and relax.
Yep. Absolutely. It is scary. It is scary to do it, but looking back at retrospect, it all makes sense and it all goes with your life path. And if I would have stayed in my marriage and stayed in Vegas, it wouldn't have taken me on my life path at all. So I had to be forced out.
Yeah.
Just like you did.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, more of the comments that we had here about whether you choose free will or to listen to the universe. Crystal said, when I was younger, I ignored my intuition and any pull from the universe. I try to pay more attention these days. You live and learn sometimes the hardest lessons. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because a lot of the times what the universe wants us to do isn't what we consider to be fun. It's not, you know, that's not what I want. I don't want to go that way.
Right. Or for the moment, you know, it's like that's not what you want, but the end result would be more what you want.
Yeah.
But we have to go through these like obstacle courses kind of per se.
Yeah.
To have the reward, you must meet the challenge.
Yeah. One of my challenges is that I'm an introvert and I love to be at home. I love to go out and do things, don't get me wrong. But I also prefer to go out with you and be with you. So when I'm taken like out of my home and away from you to go out with friends, it can be hard for me. And like I'll say yes at the beginning and then
start having anxiety.
Yeah, start
6 hours before.
No, days before. Are you kidding?
Days before.
But what I've done is I allow the universe to decide. And how I do that is I say, if I'm supposed to go, if this is something I'm supposed to do, it will happen. If it's not supposed to, something will come up. And it happens every time the right way. It really does. Sometimes things come up and I don't go. And sometimes things don't and I do. And so I just go with it from the universe. I was invited, they're probably at least one of them listening, Hannah and Lexi, my favorite twins. They just turned 40 and I was invited to go to John Cicada with them. And, you know, I'm happy to go out. It's their birthday and stuff, but I don't know like any of his music except for one song.
Right.
And so we were sitting in like our favorite restaurant. And we were talking about this, and you're like, oh, that's coming up, huh? And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm looking forward to it. But at the same time, you know, the introvert in me and blah, blah, blah. And John Cicada comes on the radio in there.
Yep.
The one song.
The only one that anybody knows, because that's the only one they play.
Which is the one that he ended with. Yeah. And like everybody was standing. It was the only song everybody was up and standing and dancing to. That was his encore. But anyways, I knew at that moment that the universe was like, just go.
He made everybody wait for that song.
He'd made everybody wait an hour and a half for that song. But it was a good show. He seems like a really nice guy.
In his defense, he has written a lot of songs for other people, which I didn't know that.
Yes. Gloria Estefan, Ricky Martin. Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, these girls, they grew up with a little bit of a Latino side. And so this is like one of their favorites. And so for me, it was definitely going and being like, okay, I'm going to be open to this, you know. But yeah, once I heard that song come on in the restaurant, I was like, I'm supposed to go and I'm just going to go and I'm going to have a good time. And I'm going to let the introvert, you know, just let it be. And I did. I had a good time. But it is hard when you're an introvert sometimes to get yourself motivated to come out. So I just let the universe do what it's going to do.
Totally.
Really, it helps. Okay, let's see. We have a couple more here. Nicole said, I usually make logical decisions even though my gut is saying otherwise, then always find out I should have trusted my gut because that was the universe talking. Now, if the loss isn't too great, I choose with my gut. I can understand for sure. Yeah. But always listen to your gut. It's your intuition.
It's your intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of your soul.
You know, another way that I know too which way I'm supposed to go is I really like put everything else aside, like my personal feelings of whatever the situation is, and I sit with it and I think of the different ways it can go, and I think intuitively which is the right way. Which way am I being pulled to? Not as what's the easiest way.
Right.
But what is the right way?
Right.
What's the way I would want the character in the movie to do it? What's the way that Jesus would do it? What's the way my mom in heaven would do it? Whatever gets me motivated, and I do that.
Yeah.
You know?
I've been kind of doing this, like, of trying to sort of intellectualize how to explain it, but looking at my life and being kind of, I don't want to say not involved because I'm living the life, but going with the flow in the sense of like, I'm looking at it as observation. Mm-hmm. I'm observing what's happening instead of actually trying to steer it myself. I'm just trying to observe, pay more attention to the surrounding and less of the course.
Right.
Because the surrounding gives me, you know, a better idea of kind of hints to where we are headed.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. So how do we do that then? How do we allow the universe to kind of, you know, guide us and listen to it and use it to our advantage? Like, what's the different ways? This was one of the questions that people in the group were asking. And it's really learning to speak that language. And we did do an episode, I'll look back in a little bit if I remember and see what episode number it was. But we did the Learning to Communicate with the Universe episode, which really breaks down a lot of the different signs that they send. The numbers, the music, all of that.
Yeah.
But I've also created a system that I believe to be foolproof. And I will share with you what I do. I ask the universe a very specific question, very, very specific, and I ask for very specific signs. Yep. So, for example, my dad has been very sick, and my sister was kind of worried that, you know, we were both kind of thinking, is his time coming or what? So I asked the universe, is he going to die soon? Like, I'm straightforward as question, as harsh as it may sound. And I say, if yes, send me dad songs. If no, don't. And he made it through this. I didn't hear any dad songs. I didn't get any dad signs. He made it through this. So the lack of signs told me he wasn't going to die. It really works every single time, but you have to be so super specific, especially with the question, because if you're wish-washy about the question, they're not going to answer it the way that you want it answered. No. You might get no response at all.
As I was going to say, you won't answer at all because they don't want to confuse you.
Exactly.
Even more.
So if you get like with this question with my dad, if there was no signs, I can come up with a follow-up question and ask, for example, like, how long is it going to take for him to get better? You know, is it going to be less than a couple of weeks before he's out of the hospital, right? And if he is, dad songs. If not, no. Right. You can continue on with the follow-up. You can ask for any signs that you want, any signs in the world. You know, we are talking about moving, and I ask for signs all the time. My sister, too. And the other day, she was talking about it, and then we get in the car, and her moving song is on. Yeah. And I look up, and there's a moving truck in front of us. So I texted her immediately and told her, because that helps her for the universe to be able to communicate with her, too. Yeah. So you get signs through other people as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, because if Funky Town was a song that was playing a lot that we'd hear on the radio before we moved here.
Yes.
And then as soon as we moved, didn't hear it hardly at all.
It stops, yeah.
Now that we're talking about planning to move to Nevada, I'm hearing it again.
Right.
Another thing, too, is that, and this is based off my beliefs, is that you're going to hear signs and messages from other people, too.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because My belief is we are all a piece or a fragment of the Creator out here experiencing and recording and documenting what it's like to live a life.
Right.
But we are essentially each a piece of that Creator, which means we can share wisdom with one another.
Right.
We can warn one another, and embrace one another and give us each other that love and the comfort that everybody feels when they go to the other side.
Right.
We're able to do that here.
Yeah.
Also share meanings. And sometimes talked about this before where someone will say something or talking but some part of that sentence sounds or just jumps out very profoundly to me. Kind of going back to my divorce is that in about 2013, in the thick of it, I had a good friend that I worked with for years at my job. And so we'd talk every morning and it would be like, what's the latest, you know? Had to go to court, blah, blah, blah. You know? And so he was always hearing me and he was a great support for me, a great release to let it out. But he said really early on, like, just do what you're doing. Be a good dad and love that kid. Let her make up her own mind.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I did.
Yep.
I didn't force anything. I let my ego and my free will take a sideline to the situation.
Yep.
And the universe let it happen. And that was such an early thing to say to somebody.
Yeah.
So he just so happens to live in Nevada now. And I was talking to him recently on the phone saying, oh, we're coming out there to visit and we're going to be moving there. And he was like, I don't know if you know, but I'm going through the same thing you went through. And I'm like, oh, no. And I said, well, remember your advice that you gave me? Well, you couldn't have been more right. Yep. And he's known this for a while. But so I said, I'm going to give your advice back to you. And just do the same thing you told me to do.
Right.
You know, so hopefully that I can be that conduit for him like he was for me.
Right.
And sharing that wisdom.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And I'm so glad that, and it jumped out.
Yeah.
It was like,
sure.
whoa.
And now, ironically, you give him that right back.
He brought it up to me in the phone conversation. He's like, remember when I told you that? I said, absolutely. And that's why I'm going to tell you got to do the same thing.
Yep, definitely. So I want to take a second because you dropped a big bomb here that we hadn't told anybody yet, and that's about us moving to Las Vegas.
Oh, I didn't?
No, we hadn't told
excuse me, we haven't? I didn't?
I've actually told my sister to keep it quiet. But it's out there now, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
We are planning to move to Henderson, Nevada.
Yes.
We're going there in about a week and a half to look for places, and we have a meeting for possibly even jobs out there. Yes. So we'll fill you guys in. But yeah, there's a lot of change coming for us. So
we're excited.
Yeah, we are very excited. California is beautiful, and I've lived here for 3/4 of my life now, but we both need something else.
I in particular, because I've never lived anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for something different and fun. And, Marina's going to be off at school, and this gives us a chance to just let loose for a little while. Because eventually going to get old, and I can't have any fun. I'm already old. But,
you can have fun.
But, I want to gravitate towards grandchildren and where she's going to be. But this gives us a time to do that. And I hate heat. That's probably the only downfall about it. But other than that, I love the fact that there's so much entertainment there.
Yeah.
Besides gambling, which I'm not really that interested in.
So many concerts.
Yeah, there's so much going on there. And this great possibility of actually having some cool work to do there. We'll still keep doing what we're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, but there's some other possibilities. And I still think we both think that somewhat temporary,
Yes.
This, we won't stay there forever.
No.
Like, again, we'll follow kind of probably wherever Marina ends up and her family and stuff like that, or wherever the universe leads us again. So,
but you can help us manifest it now that it's out there.
Sorry for spilling the beans.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I wasn't sure. I knew at some point it was just going to come out, but here we are, and that's fine. It's sometimes I don't like to tell things until it's done, but I think this way, because of what we do, it's showing people this is what we're working on. We're working on moving to Nevada. We're working on advancing our careers.
This is something that Samantha shared with me psychically, probably 2017.
No,
maybe.
I wasn't a psychic yet. In 2017.
Was it 18? Mm-hmm. Okay, 2018.
So probably
sorry, I was a year early. Sorry,
but I don't think we talked about this right away.
No, but somewhere in that recent, time frame of you learning about your gifts that you had shared. I don't know why, but I feel like we're going to end up there.
Yeah,
there's going to be an opportunity for us, and this is before we did the podcast or any of what we're doing. So. That was interesting to see. And I wasn't, I was like, really, God? Like, we got to go to this. But
it's actually a great example for this episode.
Yeah.
Really, it is.
And I just was, but now the more, I think about it in terms of whatever geography and temperature. I'm like, oh, God, we're here like 4 months out of the year sweating our butt off.
Yeah.
And cursing the heat and humidity here.
Yeah.
Okay, so it might be 5-10 degrees hotter there. Because literally, it gets like 105 here.
Yeah, sometimes.
So, it's just like,
yeah.
what's the difference? I've done everything around us 100 times.
Yes.
If not more, because I've lived here my whole life.
Vegas is the only other place that I've lived, and so going back is like going home. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's a place I never thought I would find myself again. But it's literally been written in the clouds. There was one day that I was sitting in the backyard and I was just letting the clouds take form, and they literally spelled out Vegas. And I have the picture somewhere on my phone, and I'll find it one day because I can show the letters that were printed out. And it really took a long time for us to accept that this was going to be the next move. But the universe does what it's supposed to do, and the opportunities are going to be there. And so we have to follow what the universe, where they're guiding us to. And that wasn't where we wanted to go. We wanted to go more like Oregon or Washington, but it doesn't make any sense. This makes sense. It makes sense for our careers. It makes sense for our lifestyle. It just makes sense for the
now,
time in
for
our
sure.
life. Yeah, absolutely.
And I could have been totally like anti, like, no way.
At first it was
cut,
hard. Yeah.
Scene.
Like, he's not going to like this at all.
And I could kick and scream the whole way.
Yeah.
But however, I can go along with it and see what transpires. Now, I've said, when we're there and I have to go from the car to the store and it's 115, I'm probably going to be cursing why I live in Mercury. But you know what? There's just so much that I am excited. That's just the one thing that I want to nitpick,
Yeah, me too.
It does not suit my plan.
No. Yeah, but here, it's $1 million home that was built in the 60s.
That does not suit my plan
Exactly. I'm so tired of, spending so much money on surviving and living, and I want to spend money on going and doing fun things and traveling. So, save money on your cost of living, put that money towards doing fun things. Makes sense. So, anyways, that's the plan.
We're looking for fun.
Fun. So, and new opportunities. So, anyways, now you guys know, and you can help us manifest and watch the journey.
Yeah.
Because it should start unfolding. Yeah. It's okay, because it's a good episode for it, and it should really start unfolding soon.
Yeah.
And so then we can show this is what we've been waiting for. We knew something, blah, 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 all that. So.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's go back to other things that I have here before we have to finish.
Okay.
One thing that I've noticed is that when it comes to signs from the universe, people a lot of times want to go negative with it. So there's one of our listeners, Nancy, she sent me this TikTok, and it's for a spiritual person on TikTok. They go by the name of Spiritual Cowboy. I think they're transitioning from male to female, so I will call them they. So they posted this video, and basically what it says is the person saying, I have decided this isn't the right person for me, the love interest, I'm going to move on, and the universe going, yes, yes. And the person going, I understand now, this person isn't for me, and the universe, yes, yes. And then 1111 comes up.
Right.
And the person goes, but I decided to let go of them.
Right.
Well, that sign was misinterpreted.
Yes.
What the universe is saying when you make a decision like that and they send you a sign like that is saying you've made the right decision. It's not, oh, you should go back to that person. No. So you have to think about that when you're interpreting these signs of, like, if I'm doing something, even if it's something you don't want to do, you know, even if you're in a relationship and you're breaking up and you don't want to break up, you really need to listen to what the universe is putting out there and not judge it based on what it is that you want. Because a lot of times we don't get what we want. We get what we need.
Yeah.
That's how the universe works.
Yeah.
We also have to, I've mentioned this before, surrender. Just let things go. Like with us, with what's going on, we have no idea where this is going. And right now I'm definitely frazzled because I know things are going to change.
Right.
And so it's like, where's it going to go? What's going to happen? And I constantly have to tell myself, surrender.
Yeah.
Just surrender. Let it take you wherever it's going to. It's going to be the right way. Don't use your free will to push things in certain directions. And that can be really, really hard.
It can be, yeah.
You also have to be open to a change that you might not expect. So at the same time, while I'm sitting here saying, I really do know that it's Vegas because they've been preparing us for a long time. There was one other time in my life where I felt that there was a move coming and I was totally wrong about where I was moving to, but I was like, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going. This is where I'm going. And then I ended up here in California.
Right.
And so it was a trip. And I was like, well, life didn't really go exactly the way I expected it to, you know? Right. So you have to be open to change that you might not be expecting. Absolutely. Because there's always a reason and it's always pushing you in the direction that you're supposed to.
Yeah.
For sure. So we also have to break the repetitive patterns in our lives. It's very important because a lot of us do fall into patterns of comfort. Yeah. And if you sit in those patterns, then you can't break free from them. And breaking free from them is one of the ways that the universe can really get through, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to add in this episode?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I was just kind of reflecting on the times that I, sort of, and I myself have misread signs and gone a different,
me too.
different path. Something I used to share on the podcast a lot was the band that I used to play with, Gypsy Brown. That was a 10-year process and a lot of change going on and having to listen to the signs. Mm-hmm. And some were misinterpreted.
Yeah.
But some, like I heard clearly and felt clearly that the main 4 members of the band were not going to be the main 4 members at the end of it.
Right.
So it started with the drummer. He was the first one to go. And I had sort of expressed, we were all kind of expressing some unhappiness about the situation. And I said, well, all I know is that he's not the final one. And I don't know how or when this is going to occur. And then all of a sudden, one of the other guys takes it upon himself to let him go without really telling anybody.
Yeah.
And so I goes, well, as awkward as that seems, that was handled.
Yeah, the universe took care of that one.
Then the next thing was finding a bass player so that the lead singer could focus more on vocals and go back to his true instrument, which was guitar and some harmonica and stuff. So there was this search for the bass player. And we had another guy that we ended up going with because I misinterpreted the message. And the message that was coming in was from you during this kind of reading and this channeling was like a wooden carousel. And I'm oh, wooden carousel. Maybe they're talking about a record player. Or, and so I'm trying to figure it out. Well, I didn't figure it out. We ended up going with one guy who was in the group for about a year. And then all of a sudden, people were getting unhappy again, and we decided to find someone else. And I clearly heard this guy's name pop into my head, who I hadn't even considered before. Yeah. And then I go, oh my God, he was in this band called Wooden Circus.
Yeah.
So I was like, there it was. Yep. Wooden Carousel.
So
Wooden
Circus. It was a carousel, yeah. It's so weird.
But yeah, I was very much, when the drummer was excused, I was like, okay, where are we now without a drummer? And the first name that popped into my head seemed like an absolutely unreachable, untouchable source that I was never going to get. Mm. But I kept hearing that person, that name, and it, like, having to ask them was a very nerve-wracking thing for me to have to call them up and go, hey, would you be interested in maybe?
Right.
And it was literally like, I'll be down there in an hour. I was like, what the hell? What do you mean you'll be down there in an hour?
Yeah.
And he was literally there like in an hour talking to us about what our plans were.
Yeah.
And so it kept growing and evolving and getting better and better. Unfortunately, with a lot of music and rock and roll, there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's age.
Yeah.
Our memory's not what it is. So
there's physical
issues.
issues.
There's physical issues, people not being able to be present because of their ailments or memory or, so it didn't go where I wanted it to go.
Right. It wasn't supposed to go where you wanted it to go.
It went as far as it was supposed to go, and I ended up having wonderful recordings and learning an immense amount about a lot of things in the process.
Yep. That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ended the way it was supposed to, but not the way you wanted it to.
Right.
And that's okay. Going back to what you said about the wooden circus, that is a moment in my journey that I look back on as a reminder, and I'm putting this out there for other people that are working on their abilities, that when you see something or you hear something, and you go with your first reaction. Like, I drew that carousel.
Yeah.
But I'm not a good drawer, so I didn't know what it was. But I felt like it was wooden, and I saw, to me it looked like, like a carousel with the horses going up and down. So it didn't look like a circus. But I got so panicked that it didn't make any sense that I let it go and started using logic as to what this must be. Where if I would have sat with it and thought about it, what could this be? Maybe we would have figured out then that they were talking about the guys from Wooden Circus.
Right.
So always listen to that and try and expand on it if you don't know what is being said to you, instead of like shutting it down and being like, okay, the whole circus thing has to be wrong. This has to be a record because I drew it. It looked like a record. It wasn't a record. But yeah.
The explanation was enough for me, honestly, whether your drawing was good or not. But.
Yeah. But we didn't figure
hindsight
it out,
is a beautiful thing. Sometimes I wish foresight was as strong. But
oh man, wouldn't that be
hindsight
nice?
really, once I put those two together, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what they're talking about.
Yep.
Ding dong.
Yep, absolutely. So I have one thing here I wanted to read from one of the listeners, Nicole. She said, when things don't go the way I like it to, I just wait a few days and the universe always reveals why. Then I feel better, so I use the universe to diminish my disappointment. Absolutely, I love that. And closing the show with that, because it will reveal itself as to why. It might be hours, it might be days, it might take years, but whatever it is, when you don't get what you want, the universe will absolutely show you why.
Especially if you step out of your own way.
Absolutely.
You're just allowing it to be shown to you.
Absolutely. Yep. So yay, friends.
Ask for it and it shall be.
Hey, guess what, everybody? Next week we're celebrating 4 years of the show.
4 years.
I cannot believe that.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but maybe we should just do some, keeping up
shots
with
of
the
tequila
Jones.
during the show?
No. No.
Streamers, balloons,
Yeah. Anything that doesn't involve alcohol.
kazoos.
Dancing girls? Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
All
Anyways,
right.
Yeah.
Well, that was cool.
Yay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Before we say goodbye to everybody, you want to share your information one more time?
Yes, you can find me at Samantha Jones Psychic Medium. Everything there, the radio show, this podcast, even my blog, and scheduling an appointment right there.
Yay.
And how about for you, sir?
Yes, for my art, one more time, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And Sunshine, I hope you enjoyed the doggy snoring, because Zumi was going there for a little while.
He was sawing.
Yeah, he's about to T-Rex now. He makes dinosaur sounds, and he's preparing for that right now. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it.
Well, we hope everybody got something out of this week.
That we do.
And we hope you guys have a great week.
Yes.
Go out there and use the universe to your advantage.
Please.
And until next week.
Peace and love.